Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or whenever you should happen to find this. Welcome to the 20th episode of the Quote of Arms podcast, where we have special guests come on and talk about their favorite tribes. This is the second season finale, and much like the end of the first season, it's ending with a bang. So today I have a very special guest who is...
Hi, I am Snow Queen of Hoth, or Hoth Queen of Snow on Twitter. Yes, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm very happy that you are here. And what tribe are we talking about today, as if it wasn't obvious just from the name?
Angels.
Oh, wonderful. Those glorious beings from the sky. So, what are angels like?
They're amazing, for one thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But basically, most angels are white. A lot of them are mono-white. There are angels of all colors. There are a couple mono-black angels. Lots of white and other colors, like Selesnya angels, like Sigarda and Shalai. Obviously, there is Liesa and Pirha as Orzhov angels. Then there's also a lot of multicolor angels that I only just discovered kind of recently that also do wacky things. And of course, there's the red angels, Achroma. Yeah, so mostly white, but also goes into some of the other color categories. A lot of them are big flyers, almost all of them. I'm pretty sure every angel except one, all of them have flying except for one. I forget what the one is, but it was weird. But it didn't have flying. Lots of them have vigilance, lifelink, things like that. Not all of them, but that's a big theme throughout them. A lot of them focus on kind of protective measures. For example, Sigarda keeps opponents from making you sacrifice things. Shalai gives you and your creature's hexproof. Avacyn gives permanency control indestructible, things like that. But there's also just kind of very big kind of game-changing abilities, which are very cool. I'm going to just forget all of them.
That's okay. So before we go into them,
angelic-
before we go into them, can we go more into the protective elements? So we're thinking about what an angel is and what it does. Like there's the phrase, the guardian angel, somebody who's always looking out for you.
Yeah.
Do you kind of get that feel from Angels and Magic?
Yes, 1,000%.
Which angels give you that feeling?
A lot of them, Avacyn, Angel of Hope, would probably be the biggest, most obvious example of that. She is a giant 8/8 angel that gives everything, all permanency control indestructible.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is very impressive.
Oh yeah, so when she comes down, nothing of yours is getting touched. And has it herself, which is unique element, because unlike
Shalai.
Shalai,
Shalai, for example, she doesn't have hexproof, but all your other creatures have hexproof. So if you take out Shalai, then you can take out everything else. But that doesn't work for Avacyn because she is also indestructible.
So yeah, Shalai is it's kind of like the self-sacrificing angel.
Yeah.
Another one that I remember behaving that way, that I really remember enjoying in terms of flavorfully how it works, is Restoration Angel.
Yes.
Or Resto, as it used to be called.
Really?
Yeah, we just shortened it to Resto. But yeah, coming in, blinking a creature that you control, so exiling and then returning it. You do that in response to something like somebody trying to kill it. And when it comes back, it's a new creature, so it's no longer targeted by whatever spell it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an important part of Aristocrats decks when it came out, and it was an important part of Tempo decks, between Restoration Angel and Geist of Saint Traft, which I've loved building around as well. It's basically like that lucky spirit is surrounded by two guardian angels. So, what are some of the more finisher attributes that you were talking about?
So, some really big ones. because in addition to kind of just protective measures, there are also lots of, some of the really big ones are big game-changing, board-changing ones that not a lot of other tribes seem to be able to do, except for the one that's closest that I've seen are the Archons, which are also very controlling, have lots of kind of stacksy measures that, once it comes on, it changes the way everything on the board and in the game works. The big example is Angelic Skirmisher, Angelic Arbiter, and each opponent who casts a spell this turn can't attack with creatures. Each opponent who attacked with a creature this turn can't cast spells. So that is a very big detriment, especially in Commander, because people want to cast lots of spells and attack with creatures, and so it really changes the dynamic of the game if you can only do one each turn.
Yeah, it's kind of a
for Angel,
proactive protection.
Yeah. Let's see, what are some of the other ones? Ray of Dawnbringer is another really good one. It lets you return creatures from the graveyard every turn, which is very good. Like, if you can get her out after a Void Wipe or something, then you can just keep returning things. Let's see. Oh, and of course, Sarah's Emissary is one of the win cons in my Angel deck. I try to get out, if I can get out True Conviction, Sarah's Emissary, and Avacyn, basically it's game over. But really, if I can just get True Conviction and Sarah's Emissary, because Sarah's Emissary gives you and creatures you control protection from a chosen card type, which is that's freaking huge. Like, there's that one Angel that got banned in Commander because it says that choose a color, spells of the chosen color can't be cast. And that got banned because it just meant that if someone was playing a monocolored deck and, if someone was playing mono blue and you say, can't play blue spells, like, they can't play the game. And so, like, that makes sense that it was banned, but this one is still just insanely powerful.
When it enters the battlefield, you name it, correct?
Yes.
So you could always do something like, in response to somebody blasting you in the face with a fireball or something, just blink it with Restoration Angel and name sorcery.
Yep.
Just cool little interactions like that.
Yeah. What I usually do with it is I'll give protection from creatures, and that just makes all of my things unblockable. It's especially helpful if other people have flyers on the board, especially chump blocker kind of things, because the way my Angel deck wins is just pretty basic, just doing damage, punching people in the face with giant angels. And angels don't really have anything that gives them trample. So if someone has chump blockers, that can be kind of a problem. And so giving me and my creatures protection from creatures not only makes my creatures unblockable, but it also means that I can't be dealt combat damage, so no one can attack me, which is very big, because then it means they need to figure out some other way to try to kill me, not using combat damage. And a lot of EDH decks, or at least the ones I play against, win, by combat damage. So that's a very big one and a cool one that I enjoy.
So angels rule in terms of combat. They can change some of the rules of the game, which makes sense for something that's supposed to be on the level of a celestial or a deity.
Yeah.
So how are angels different from gods?
I don't know that much about the god tribal in Magic.
Okay.
I know that a lot of them are big and powerful. Lots of them have indestructible. I think all of them had indestructible up until Kaldheim, because they were trying to keep it more accurate to the Norse mythology, where gods had a different dynamic, and so they similarly have kind of big effects that can change how you play the game. I think there's a bit of a lesser extent of how it affects your opponent's
Mhm.
way of playing the game.
Raydan, I think, is one that
exception.
does.
Sorry?
Raydan, I think, is one of the call-in ones that changes the way the opponents play too.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Yep. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's like the one exception. I consider Redain an honorary angel.
Oh yeah.
Just because her effect, I think, is very similar to one that you would find on an angel, and I really like it.
Well, they both are part. They both the angels serve the pantheon, so it makes sense that they would work both ways usually.
Yeah.
So, we have angels that are able to protect. We have angels that are able to attack. So they attack. They protect. They attack.
Yep.
They can swing without holding back. There's the meme. Good.
Yes.
Nice. So, typically speaking, they have relatively high power and toughness and mana value, correct?
Yes. Yes, very high mana value.
So what are some things that can be done to mitigate that?
So in my angel deck, I'm playing. So my angel deck is Shalai Angel, so it's Selesnya, which gives a very big advantage in making the costs of angels easier because green has lots of access to ramp and things like that. The main ones for me are Mirari's Wake and Zendikar Resurgent. If I don't get at least one of those out during a game, it can become very difficult because those are mana doublers, and that just makes it so much easier to afford all of the angels. But even then, a lot of the times you still end up with only being able to cast one angel per turn. Later in the game, if you have mana doubler, for example, in the game I played recently with Veggie Wagon, I had a bunch of angels in my hand that I was holding on to because I didn't have enough mana to cast them. I got the Zendikar Resurgent onto the battlefield, and on my next turn, I played like 6 angels in one turn because I could finally afford all of them. So the mana doublers are very big and very helpful. There's also different ways to lessen the cost of angels. Starnheim Aspirant is a big one. It is a human cleric that's only ability is that angel spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. Very good way to reduce the cost. Same for Herald of War. Anytime it attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. And angel and human spells cost 1 less to cast for each +1/+1 counter on Herald of War. There is also Herald's Horn. Very good for tribal decks. Creature spells of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast. Things like that.
Is Pearl Medallion in there?
Sorry?
Is Pearl Medallion in there?
Pearl Medallion is not in here.
Okay.
Because it's Celestia. Pearl Medallion is the one that white spells cost 1 less to cast, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Ursus Incubator is another big one. Creature spells of chosen type cost 2 less to cast. And then there's also kind of like weirder ones, like Belby's Portal. Choose a creature type, then you can pay 3 and tap it to put a creature card of the chosen type from your hand into play. That's a very big one. The fact that I could, pay 3 to put Avacyn on the battlefield for my hand is very big. Of course, the really big one that I think is very overlooked a lot of the times is Defense of the Heart. It is a relatively cheap card. 4 mana during your upkeep. If one of your opponents control at least 3 creatures, you can search your library for up to 2 creature cards, put them onto the battlefield, and shuffle. So I've had it where, if I have ramp right, I've gotten that out, turn 3, and then one of my opponents has 3 or more creatures, turn 4, I've got, Avacyn and Sarah's Emissary on the battlefield, turn 4, and that's just unbelievable. So there's lots of ways to make it a bit easier to get the angels out, but it is something that is difficult, and something you really have to kind of build your deck around very carefully.
That is one that Anna, the Unicorn Queen, she swears by that one.
Yeah.
Because, and I have that in my, I have a Shalai deck myself, actually. My Shalai deck is just infinite combos, though. It's one of the decks I bring out if somebody is, like, pub stomping.
Ah.
Uh, so I have Defense of the Heart in there because basically any two creatures in the deck will infinite combo.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, if I get that out turn 3, it's just okay. If you have 3 or more creatures, I win the game.
Yeah.
Things like that. So it's my Rube Goldberg deck because basically I assemble combo shenanigans where just I get 3 or 4 cards out that loop together and such.
Mm.
Actually made a version of that worked in Modern. That was pretty cool. But yeah, so it's interesting how different things can work with angels. And there's actually there are also cards with angels in the name that just kind of work. That work, that do a lot of work and do cool things, kind of like you would expect an angel to. I'm drawing a blank on the name for right now. So I think Angel's Grace was mentioned recently as an interesting angel adjacent card.
Yeah.
Split second.
Luminarch Aspirin.
Yep. So Luminarch Aspirin is a nice angel adjacent card as well, pumping your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to remember what the name is of the card that returns a creature though from the graveyard.
Oh, Emeria the Sky Ruin.
No, I was actually thinking of an enchantment that has angel in the name. But Emeria the Sky Ruin is an awesome card, and that's one that used to be a staple in pretty much any white deck people would build.
Yeah. I have it in basically every white deck I have.
Mm-hmm. So Emeria, there's Emeria Angel, there's Emeria the Sky Ruin. Both of those were seen really, really high. There was a 7-drop with landfall. There's a couple of different angels with landfall.
Yeah.
So there's one that returns creatures to that returns permanents to the battlefield. There's one that makes birds, and there's one that exiles creatures, I believe.
Yeah.
Almost like O-rings until eventually it gets popped. So there's a variety of different strategies that angels could be involved in. Angelic Shield is one that I've enjoyed as well.
Which one?
Angelic Shield. It's a blue-white card. And it's blue-white enchantment. Creatures you control get +0/+1. You can sack it to return a creature to its owner's hand. So that has a lot of different applications to it. Angelic Renewal was what I was thinking of, though. That's the one I was trying to remember. That's in my Infinite Combos deck. It's a colorless and a white for an enchantment. Whenever a creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may sacrifice Angelic Renewal. If you do, return that creature to the battlefield. So you have a sack outlet, like Ultra Dementia. You have Sun Titan and Angelic Renewal. You sack Sun Titan to the Ultra Dimension and mill somebody for 6, and then you sack the Angelic Renewal to return the Sun Titan, which returns the Angelic Renewal.
Oh, wow. That's very cool.
That's one of the combos that's in there. Just in terms of the cool little things that angel adjacent cards can do.
Yeah.
Ray of Dawnbringer, I know, is one that I've seen you use before to great effect.
Love Ray of Dawnbringer.
Somebody wipes, everything comes back. Maybe slowly, but they come back.
Yeah.
I actually won a national championship with an angel. It's a Chroma Angel of Fury.
Yes.
It's the red one. And it's some kind of funny shenanigans that happened with that. I was playing a complicated enchantment-based deck where I had a spell that had Epic that searched out an enchantment every turn. And what I tried to do was I had ways I had a card which said when you cycle something, it's called Astral Slide, or Astral Drift, I think was the case. So I would put the angel face down, cycle the thing, and then blink it back face up. But I got a little impatient the last round, and played it face down against a blue-white control deck, and it got put under Detention Sphere. So Chroma Angel of Fury has protection from blue and white, and it
Yeah.
was put under a blue and white spell because it was face
Ooh.
down at the time. So when I finally resolved my thing to let me search enchantments, I got an O-ring for the detention sphere, and eventually just one at the angel. It was a funny shenanigans where a thing with protection from blue and white was exiled with a blue and white spell.
Yeah.
You'd think, how does that even happen? Only in Magic, right?
Yep.
So yeah, angels so have a variety of different strategies. They can be aggressive, they can be somewhat defensive, they can be combo. It's cool to
Mhm.
see the same tribe being able to be pulled in all these different directions.
Yeah. That was something that was actually really hard when I decided that I wanted to build an angel deck, was trying to decide what type of angel deck I wanted to do, because there are so many different ways you could do it.
Mm-hmm. I think I remember there being another way that you tried recently. The 4/4 tokens.
Yes, that didn't really work, but I tried to make it work.
It looked cool when I saw it. What was the goal of that deck?
Basically, the goal was just to make lots of 4/4 angel tokens and then punish people with them. The problem is, 4/4 angel tokens, despite having a number of cards that make them, isn't actually a specifically supported tribe. So there's only, you know, 6 or 7 cards that make 4/4 angels, and a lot of them are kind of one shots, like Decree of Justice, where it's a sorcery that makes 4/4 angels, but you can only make however many you have the mana to afford at that time, and then the spell goes in your graveyard and you can't use it again.
Yeah, Luminarch
Luminarch
Ascension
Ascension
is
was the really big one.
yep.
That if you get that one out, then everything starts working. But
Mhm.
if you don't get it out, or it's pretty easy to remove, especially easy to remove before it gets the 3 Ascension counters on it. Yeah. So that was the one that kind of held the deck together.
So this is something where it doesn't seem like there's quite enough support for it.
Yeah.
One of the things that you could do is put it into a format like Oathbreaker. Yeah, you might wind up being
definitely.
limited to white, but there is a commander that can work with it who makes the 4/4 angels.
Yeah, the Sarah Planeswalker. So using Luminarch Aspirant or Decree of Justice or something like that, and then the Sarah Angel for Oathbreaker would be perfect.
Yeah, so that's one way to make it work. So that could be an interesting little thing to try, especially considering that there are a number of token-related things. So while there aren't there might not be a lot of support for making those specific kinds of tokens, there are certainly. What's that?
No, I was just going to interrupt you to finish the
Okay.
sentence and say there's lots
okay.
of other things that support tokens in general.
Yeah.
The commander for the deck I was using was Tristani, Selesnia's Voice, because
Mhm.
I had kind of a populate sub mechanic for this set, because there weren't that many ways to get 4/4 angels out there.
Mhm.
Basically, I was just like, if I can just get one and then have a bunch of populate abilities, I can just get a lot of angels out from one. So that's what I was trying to do with it.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that can work. There are also other different other different colors to splash in. Sometimes you wind up having to, in order to get enough members of the tribe that you're looking for, going into colors where, yeah, the commander adds a color, but the commander isn't really the card that you want. Like, there are Bant Angels. There is at least one Bant Legendary Angel that I know of. So it's possible that adding that so you could have Geist of Saint Trapped is another way to make that token.
Yeah.
So that might have worked. It's an interesting idea, though, to try to win with specifically angel tokens rather than angels themselves.
Yeah.
It's also just cool ways to take some of the angels that you're already playing, or to play with cards that have angel in the name or in the art, and use those as kind of another spin on it.
Yeah.
I remember you were building an Elish Norn deck at one point, and then
Yes.
mentioned something about possibly making an Avacyn Armageddon deck.
Yeah.
That would be neat.
Yes.
So what would
It's a mean one.
Oh yeah, it's mean, but what would an Avacyn Armageddon deck look like?
Let me pull it up. Okay. It was very mean, and it was entirely because I got a very cool Armageddon proxy that I was very excited to play. And so I decided I wanted to make a very mean Avacyn deck, focusing on some of the combos that I found with Avacyn and Armageddon, or other stuff like Nev's Disc and I forget the other one, that just, you can just repeatedly board wipe and World Slayer, that's the one. Repeatedly board wipe and just destroy everyone's stuff without killing your own stuff, because obviously Avacyn gives everything protection, or indestructible. And so there was lots of stacksy pieces and protective pieces to try to keep people from messing with you and your stuff, trying to slope things down for other people, while, you're in the process of getting out Avacyn and, World Slayer and all of that, and, the big expensive board wipes and things like that. So it's very mean. It is like fully, stacksy. Like there's Linval, the Keeper of Silence, all of this stuff. It's mean, but it's fun, and I do want to give it a try.
Yeah, it's okay, and sometimes mean is necessary, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there's cool things. There's all kinds of cool things that angels can do. So, you talked about what angels do within the game, and all kinds of different flexibilities and play styles. What do they look like?
They're gorgeous. They are, in my opinion, and in my roommate's opinion, who doesn't play Magic, some of the prettiest cards in the game of Magic. They are just, oh my god. Every single angel just has the most gorgeous art, and they're all so beautiful and amazing, and the art is so incredible. I mean, what is it? Angel of Flight Alabaster? That should be in a museum. Like, it's so gorgeous. And yeah, they're all so beautiful. They're all usually women with wings, being awesome. There is two male angels. One is Angel of the God Pharaoh, and one is Gabriel, the really old one. But other than that, they're all women, and they're all just beautiful and awesome and amazing, and almost all of them are warriors, which is very cool. Like, there's lots of armor and swords and things like that, which is really cool because it kind of goes against a lot of kind of the stereotypical trope of angels as, the stereotype of angels is, Angel of Flight Alabaster, like this pale woman, like on the floor, like whatever, blah, 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 in a white dress, looking sad kind of thing. And then you've got, Atraxa, Praetor's Voice, who is just this, incredible, armored, I don't even have words to describe it. Like, it's just amazing. It's just so awesome. And I read something about how, from Mark Rosewater, about the very first art for Certain Angel, and how he wanted it to be different than the trope of angels, and wanted to change how people thought of angels from, just kind of healing and light and protective, and, make them warriors. And so I really like that, and I thought that was very cool. If not just because, this is a card game that, is played by lots of men and stuff like that, and having, this tribe of warrior angel women that, are supposed to be these, dainty, delicate things who just, protect people and look nice and pretty, and just, like, get demolished by them. just completely destroy everything and just be epic and awesome and insane is just, it's so fun and it's so awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like the shift from the vengeful angels to like the or the vengeful or the overprotective kind to the Valkyries, which are
Yeah,
very different.
yeah.
So, is there a particular plane on which you prefer the angels?
Um, I don't really know. I don't know that much about the different planes because I've only experienced a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
The plane I was introduced to them on was Kaldheim,
Mm-hmm.
which had lots of very cool angels. That's where Sun and Aspirant came from. That's where Youthful Valkyrie, Valkyrie Harbinger, Righteous Valkyrie, lots of Valkyries. All of those things came in, which, were very cool, tribal supported angels. Obviously, Innistrad was, the original Abyssin. I don't actually know where, the Baneslayer Angel and the Chroma kind of came from. I don't know that much about the lore.
That'd be Dominaria. Yeah, those are both from Dominaria. The Chroma
Yeah,
was made
and
by
so I know,
Ixidor.
and those ones I know were made very flavorfully with, the protection from the different colors relating to what was going on in the game or in the lore.
Then there's the
I don't know
Gothic
that much about
Innistradi.
it, but it is very cool. But I do like that it is kind of universal. Like in most sets, there is at least one angel.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that is very cool. That, there are some tribes, goblins and things like that, that every single set is going to have a bunch because they're just kind of universal. And then there are some that, you will only find this in this specific plane because that's where they come from.
Mm-hmm.
Unless something weird happens, like, the Eldrazi, coming into Innistrad, for example. But angels seem kind of, like they're universal, like they're this, spiritual heavenly thing that exists in lots of planes just because that's where they're needed. They're kind of needed everywhere, and it's not specific to a specific plane or a specific religion. They're just kind of there for when they're needed, and that's very cool.
Absolutely. So, when we're talking about the Kaldheim ones, the white is that spirituality, that that etherealness. What do you think the black represents? The temptation is usually to say that black is evil, right?
Yeah.
So
And that, sorry, what?
No, nothing. Just secondary questions because I don't usually leave enough time for people to answer. So the question being, so what does the black represent in the Kaldheim Angels?
So it is kind of, it makes it seem like the white is good and the black is evil, but it's really not about it being evil. It's just about it interacting with death and life in a different way. Lots of them have lifelink. Some of them have death touch, like Vengeful Reaper has death touch. Fearhut is lifelink and putting things into your graveyard. Lots of them. Eradicated Valkyrie, sacrificing a creature to do something. Things like that. So lots of them are about putting stuff into your graveyard and then getting benefits from having things such as angels in your graveyard. Renegade Reaper, mills 4 cards, and then if you have at least an angel in your graveyard, you gain 4 life, which interacts well with other. If you've gained 4 or more life in this turn, X happens. Things like Righteous Valkyrie, or not Righteous Valkyrie. I forget which one. Sorry. Yeah, so I don't think that it is necessarily about it being evil. I think it's just about interacting with death and life in a different way that can seem evil, but doesn't have to be. It's just something that scares people, I think, both in the game and in the real world.
Absolutely, and that's something that I've been sort of toying with recently because black and white to me are like the polar opposites of who I am as a player. If I'm in a world that has magic and that has all stuff like that, I'm not going to concern myself with right and wrong. I'm going to try to experiment with it in any way I can because that's something that I'm not used to being present in my life. So I'm not going to try to govern how people use it because I don't understand it that well. So
Yeah.
I am like Temur are the colors that I play, and that I play most often. And so black and white to me they're kind of like you see the Avatar: The Last Airbender. Are you familiar with them? Yeah.
Love Avatar.
Same. Black and white to me are kind of like the elements that you learn last. In Avatar, how they had the one element that was always their polar opposite.
Yeah.
That was the polar opposite for me. I was learning how to play Orzhov or Lorehold or whatever you want to call it. Or not Lorehold, I'm going to draw a blank on it. Silverquill, that's it.
Yeah.
Learning how to play that color combination took some time. But
Yeah.
I think the first one I made that was really interesting like that was Selenia, which was, of course, an
Angel.
yeah. That deck was hilarious though. It wasn't good to play for the anti-suicide stuff because the deck's called Suicide Selenia.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So my goal is to set my life to 0. And it has worked. A couple of times actually. I've set my life to 0 and then set everyone's life to mine and then 1. But yeah, it's an interesting dichotomy, an interesting mindset to get into when you're playing. But black and white is not just simply good and evil, not just simply right and wrong. Sometimes it's how far you're willing to go for the things that you care about.
Yeah.
Like Selenia willing to sacrifice for something that I care about in the game, and how fragile those combinations are. In Furia, you're sacrificing your own memories to try to get back the specific ones that you need later. That was one of the ones that I played in the Angel games.
Yeah.
So it's cool to think about it that way. It's how far are you willing to go for what you want? Not is what you want evil or not.
Yeah.
Granted,
that's a very good way of putting it.
Granted, the things that people are willing to go very far for often wind up being things that others would find unsavory.
Yeah.
But I do like thinking about it that way in terms of how far are you willing to go for what you want and how many black pips are actually in the cost.
Yeah.
It's also an interesting way to think about it because Furia is not equal. I remember that.
No, it's 2 uncolored, 1 white, 2 black.
Mm-hmm. So it's more about how far you're willing to go and willing to go to a pretty dark place in order to get what you want.
Yeah, especially contrasted with Furia's Retribution, the enchantment, which is 1 uncolored, 2 white, 1 black. And it does lean more into, like, you can see the difference between what a 1 white, 2 black card does and what the 2 white, 1 black card does. Where Furia's is casting second spell, looking at the top of your library, put 1 in your hand, 1 in your graveyard. Furia's Retribution, you make a 4/4 angel. Until end of turn, they can tap to destroy a creature with power less than that creature's power. And then angels gain double strike until end of turn. So you can see the difference between the white side, which you're creating something, you have the chance to destroy it, but there is a limit to what you can destroy. And then in the end, the main thing is still coming in through the attack and the combat and the interaction. Whereas Fira is a lot more about, you need to do this so that you can gain, gain this thing, this information, these cards, and then be willing to sacrifice one of them for the one that you need. So, like, you can see, kind of like the different dynamic, the different priorities in the color, and just, that's cool.
Absolutely. So one of the things I was actually just doing here researching is that Kaya Geist Hunter is now another version of the doubling season type effect. So it's another cool way to build the Angel Tribal using another strong female character.
Yes, I love Kaya. She's awesome.
So that's one that I might build an Oathbreaker relatively soon. Yeah, all kinds of cool ways to build things. So, what kinds of projects do you have lined up?
So I have actually been wanting to build an Orzhov life game deck. I've been I've been scared of it because of the connotation. For example, I, am interested in maybe playing Liesa as the commander, but that is a scary commander that people don't like playing, especially the old Liesa, that makes everyone lose life anytime they cast a spell. That's mean and scary and would be difficult to pull off because everyone's going to be targeting it. Same for Kalia. I really want to make an awesome Kalia deck, but it's hard because I just know that everyone's going to be targeting it and kind of trying to keep me from doing the thing that I want to do.
Well, has that not happened when you were playing the Angel deck, though?
Yes, but not as much, because Shalai is very slow. Very, very slow. And so it's not doing much for the first, 5 or 6 turns. And so no one's worrying about it until I start getting lots of angels out, and then they try to do something about it and realize they can't touch any main stuff. And that's when people get worried. But that only happens after I've already gotten them all out. Whereas with something like Kalia, everyone's going to be, once they know that I'm playing Kalia, they're going to be saving their counter spells for when I want to play her. They're going to be saving their removal for the second she hits the field. Things like that, which it's just a different dynamic, and it's a little bit different and kind of scary for me. Because I'm scared of being mean in games. But like with my Absent Land Destruction deck, I'm kind of trying to, push out of my comfort zone a little and challenge myself to play stuff that'll be fun and crazy. With people who are obviously, willing to play that kind of game and, would still be able to have fun with it and things like that. So yeah, figuring out ways to play stuff that is fun and awesome without making it miserable.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen Lysa played before. It makes it a bit of a race, and it'd be interesting to put out some cards that just make it Lysa burn. But it's a little it could be a little tough to build. I could see that. Karlov is it's one of the more common life gain commanders. Just keep making him bigger, making him bigger, making him bigger, and then remove the counters to exile a creature if you need to. Vona is a fun one as well.
Which one?
So Vona, what was her name? Butcher of Magan. So Vigilance, lifelink, 4/4. You can tap her, pay 7 life to destroy a non-land permanent.
Yeah.
So some interesting different ways to play it a little bit more defensively. See, I have a political deck with Teysa, Envoy of Ghosts, which is a fun one.
Yes, I love to do so.
That one's always a silly deck. Ailey Eternal Pilgrim is a fun one. You could always use Ailey because it has a mana value of 2. You could use Ailey with Luris as a companion and try that out, which would be an interesting, different deck building restriction.
That is cool.
There's always stuff. There's lots of fun different ways to take things. Or you could just go with Furia and use her as filtering to try to find the pieces that you need.
Yeah.
Lots of different ways to go. I will say, personally, it doesn't really matter which commander you use. If you're playing a life gain deck, I'm going to target you. But that's because I try to keep life totals even if at all possible. And I don't want... I try to keep life totals even, and because sometimes you can just get to a life total that's high enough that it seems like nothing can hit you.
Well, but that's what commander damage is for.
Yeah. That's why sometimes they feel targeted. Like, why do you keep attacking with your commander? Well, because your life total is going to get too high for me to interact with.
Yeah.
So commander damage, or just winning through alternate win cons and such. One of the cool things with Furia is if you do want to build a a more interactive deck, you could always use something like Approach of the Second Sun, and then you cast the Approach, put it down there, and then Furia will help to get you there.
Yeah.
Because you can activate its ability and put the card in your hand.
Yeah.
There's always different things that you could wind up doing.
Yeah. The cool Approach to the Second Sun thing that I've always wanted to try was Approach to the Second Sun and Lapse of Certainty.
Nice. Lapse of Certainty puts it back on top. Yep.
Yeah.
You can Approach with the Second Sun and remand it back to your hand. I've done that before in a blue-white deck.
That's good.
Yeah. You take it off the stack and put it back in your hand, and then you draw a card.
Yeah.
So remand has been used in those kind of shenanigans because it counters a spell but puts it back in the owner's hand. Why would you ever want to do that? They'll just recast it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they can't recast it that turn. Maybe you want to bounce your own thing. Like, one of the things that used to be done out of supposed sideboarding in storm decks was Grape Shot, which deals 1 damage, and then 1 for each storm. And then you remand the original copy, and then you cast the original copy again.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
So it allows you to combo out even though it didn't look possible.
Yeah.
So again, I'm a combo player. That's how I learned how to play.
Yeah. That is not how I learned how to play, but I've been looking into it a lot more lately, and it looks really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, combo is fun. It takes a different mindset, and it takes a lot of math to get the deck to work. That's where, if you notice, I have these different formulas and the different statistics related things, because if it doesn't work just right, then the pieces fall apart.
Yeah, and I'm not good at math.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. Well, I mean, there's logical patterns, and once you get those down, you start to see those patterns in different places.
Yeah.
Kind of like solving a Rubik's Cube, and you keep solving it from different positions.
Yeah.
Because you start to learn just the general pattern recognition.
Yeah.
And it becomes real. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to go off on a tangent about Rubik's Cube.
Okay, feel free.
No, it's good.
Okay. But yeah, so you learn to solve it from different positions because you get used to the motions. So, like, all my decks, as weird and as unique as they look, they follow the same pattern. And they operate the same way. They're just coming from a different place. Actually, just built 3 more this last weekend or 3 more, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. Because once you start seeing the formula, you just build it everywhere.
Yeah.
So, if you were to design your own angel, so right now there's Maelstrom Archangel, which is a 5-color angel, but it's not legendary. If you were to design your own angel, what would it look like?
Okay. I would want it interact with angels in some way. It wouldn't have to. That would just be a bonus. The main thing is that I do really like the protective measures that angels have. And one of the things that is always disappointing about Shalai, and I always forget, is that it only makes you and your creatures hexproof. It doesn't make permanents you control hexproof. I don't know if there's any card that makes permanents you control hexproof, other than, giving something individually hexproof. So an angel that gives you and permanents you control hexproof. That on its own would be interesting. I feel like I would want it to have like a second ability, but that might make it like too powerful. But I don't know. Yeah.
What would the color identity be?
White for sure. There'd probably be another color. I don't know though. Shalai, it's hexproof and it's Selesnya. So maybe Selesnya. Maybe.
Hexproof is an ability it is in green. It's in a little bit blue as well.
That's what I was gonna say. Maybe blue.
That would be more of the giving itself hexproof.
Yeah.
Because blue does give things hexproof more so than have things with hexproof.
Yeah.
Oh my. Just looking on Twitter, and Hermit Druid is just talking about building Naya Angels, so there's going to be another, I know there was already a little tiff between you two. Oh my. Hopefully it stays respectful this time.
It was always respectful.
I know, I was kidding. It was all in good fun. As you know, I'd step in if it wasn't, but also I know that you would defend yourself if it wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it has been awesome. Thank you so much for being on. So your name, so yourself, and any relevant socials you wish to share.
Yes. I am Snow Queen of Hoth, or Hoth Queen of Snow on Twitter. I also have a Twitch, Snow Queen of Hoth. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's been an honor to have you on.